Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another quick pick prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the middleweight bout between Nassourdine Imavov versus Chris Curtis. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Nassourdine Imavov. So you're welcome, Chris Curtis. So do what you usually do when I pick against you, and the exact reason why I'm about to pick against you is always the way in which you come through and you pull off a win. You get a knockout victory. But but when I do pick you, I think for the most part you want to lose, and when I do pick against you, you want to win. So, also for the people watching this video, if y'all already hearing this, I guess you have a better chance picking against me when I'm picking any fight involving Chris Curtis. Let me not begin the whole thing. The odds say if I'm picking in a Chris Curtis fight, it's better to just pick against whatever way I'm doing, because you predict all the fights. It's going to be some people you don't have the best records involving, and I think Chris Curtis, he's not among. Well, is he? Well, he's not among the best. I will say that. He's not among the best. Some people I'm like 90% on him, 100% on him. Some people, yeah, not the best on. I think right now, Chris Curtis probably like 40% or 35, some ugly percentage. It's not even me doing actual math, but anyway, I'm not gonna get too much into that. But yeah, so you're welcome, Chris Curtis. But now let me get into the same exact pattern I always go with when I pick against Chris Curtis that he somehow always beats. But I'm going average confidence here. But when I look at Chris Curtis, I think what happened with his last fight was a case of, it still was in a close fight, but it was the headbutt. But he just started looking into the broader prospect. I mean, the foresight, I guess, of why he lost the fight to Kelvin Gastelum. Chris Curtis not a high volume fighter. He's not. Seemingly at this level, he relies on finishing opponents for the most part. It's gonna be certain style matches where he's not gonna rely on that. Certain style matches, but for the most part, he's gonna rely on knocking his opponent out. Solid takedown defense, but he's gonna rely on knocking his opponent out, and he don't have the highest output. And then the issue with Kelvin Gastelum is that Gastelum can put on a high output, and Gastelum has a very sturdy chin even to this point. He has been in a lot of wars, but his chin has still held up for the most part. I mean, I don't think he ever been fully knocked out in the UFC fight. Came close to it against Adesanya, but other than that, like, chin been holding up pretty sturdy. And then the Chris Curtis fight, his chin held up pretty sturdy, and ultimately he just outlanded Chris Curtis like 2-1 and over the course of that 3-round fight. So that's the thing with Gastelum. In my opinion, I don't think he's been knocked out yet. I don't think he's been dropped yet, to my knowledge, to my recollection and stuff. So we don't know where his chin's at. 3-round fight, but I know for sure Imavov, if he would have fought Gastelum, I feel like Imavov would have beat Gastelum pretty easily, to be honest. But styles make fights. And also, styles make fights. And I definitely think Imavov can outwork and outland Chris Curtis and avoid the big shots. He's not a guy that's gonna go in there and just be looking to trade on the inside. And Chris Curtis not the best at cutting the ring off necessarily. You saw with the Hermanson fight, he wasn't the best at cutting the cage off. He allowed Hermanson to just style on him for the most part. Exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. He allowed Hermanson to stay on his bike and land his shots and strike when he wanted to strike, and wasn't able to cut him off with that much answer to that. Maybe he wasn't anticipating that, but regardless, short notice, all these excuses out there, but he lost. And a longer fight was able to outwork him from a distance and fight at the ranges he wanted to fight at and avoid the big shots of Chris Curtis. And I think Imavov has better footwork. I think he's longer. I think he's younger, more athletic than Hermanson, at least in the striking battle. I don't see, So it's kind of coming down to the thing. I feel Imavov's still young enough, chin still sturdy enough. I think he can take some big shots from Chris Curtis if he needs to. And I definitely know he can outwork and outland Chris Curtis. Also crack Chris Curtis with some big shots as well. But I see this fight where Imavov is simply just going to outwork Chris Curtis. It's not the Buckley fight where Buckley is the most technical striker and definitely a little bit negligent on the defensive side, and Chris Curtis was able to take advantage of that. Or Phil Hawes, who's kind of chinny on the side, and Chris Curtis was able to just take his shots on the arm a little bit and then find an opening. I think with Imavov, it's not the same case. So I think it's more so the case where Imavov has all the tools to be able to outwork Chris Curtis and be able to deal with the power of Chris Curtis, as far as necessary. Not saying he's going to have to go out there and go with slugfest with Chris Curtis, but that he can be on his bike, throw his kicks, throw his punches, be long, and avoid the big shots of Chris Curtis. Also, like, he's longer too. It's not like he's like 5'11", 6 feet, or 5'10" like Buckley or Halls. It's like, but you had the other guy who lost, Arnold. Well, no, I'm gonna say Arnold Allen, but I'm getting his name mixed up right now, and I ain't gonna pull it out my memory. But we know Allen. But anyway, that was a pretty long guy. But again, Allen's not the most durable guy. I think Imavov was pretty durable, put a good pace on it, and it's not like Chris Curtis gonna come out here and put a pace that's gonna fatigue him, or Chris Curtis gonna do well to cut the cage off. It's still, again, kind of relying on that big shot to finish him, or those big shots to finish him. and I just don't see it happening for Chris Curtis here. No disrespect to you, Chris Curtis, but I gotta fade you. But luckily for you, that seems to favor you, so you're welcome. So in this one, I have Nassourdine Imavov via decision.